repeated itself on the set of J. Edgar.
Slow it down.
Leonardo DiCaprio brings back to life the story of J. Edgar Hoover, the first director of the FBI.
Mr. Coppis, you on the arrest. Looks like I'm going to be famous. Save it for the press, Mr. Coppis. Take him to the car.
The film is the latest from director Clint Eastwood.
Now push it towards him. Push it. There you go.
When morals decline and good men do nothing, evil flourishes. A society unwilling to learn from the past is doomed. We must never forget our history. We must never lower our guard.
The biggest challenge was something that was very clearly defined in the screenplay for me, was how do you not necessarily sympathize but empathize with this human being.
Edgar, you rise to be the most powerful man in the country.
And not even necessarily empathize, but how do you understand his motivations and how that manifested itself into politics?
It is my belief that when a man becomes a part of this bureau, he must so conduct himself as to eliminate even the slightest possibility of criticism as to his conduct.
And it was very intriguing to discover Dustin Lance Black's screenplay, because here, for the first time, I kind of understood what motivated him. At a very young age, he was, his mother wanted him to rise to great power in politics and carry on the Hoover name to great glory.
Mr. Tolson, I need someone who I can trust. I want you to be my number 2 man. You understand? I need you. Imagine if every citizen in this country were uniquely identifiable by the pattern on their fingers. Imagine how quickly we could find them if they committed a crime.
He was a young boy genius, and so he came into this bureau and really transformed our country and really organized modern forensics and, rid our country of communist radicals and captured all the outlaws and really put a face on a federal system of police enforcement that to this day is incredibly intimidating.
You remember that file we created on his wife?
Mrs. Roosevelt.
Will you make a copy for me, please? Is that legal? Sometimes you need to bend the rules a little in order to keep your country safe.
My politics aren't in line with his. I think that, he had a very right-wing sort of Puritan view on how to protect democracy in our country at any means necessary. But I believe that he was a great patriot, and I believe that he was there to protect our country at all costs.
Without arms, without the ability to make arrests, it means nothing. Mr. Chairman, I urge passage of the Lindbergh Law, making kidnapping a federal offense, to immediately deliver all fingerprints in this country to my office so that we may create a central file.
Of course, he stayed in power for way too long, which was, the great tragedy of his career. 50 years and 8 presidents, he should have been gone long ago. By the time the Civil Rights Movement was coming about and, our country was changing for the better, he went ahead and tried to politically attack Martin Luther King and take down that movement and label it as a communist uprising, which was absurd.
To help arm our agents so that they have a fighting chance against the submachine guns of some of the most dangerous characters in the history of American criminality. And I urge you to do this in the name of Little Indy. Because if he can be taken, then what child is safe? And if we cannot aid in his safe return, then what use are we?
DiCaprio plays Hoover from young to old, and the old took a great deal of time in the makeup chair.
Mr. Kennedy, before you were even born, I heard that very same argument from a Mr. Mitchell Palmer.
It was, probably 6 hours every day. And it took away from some of the shooting time, and it was very complicated to try to inhabit that older version of J. Edgar Hoover, and for all the other actors, too. Not just the makeup and the prosthetic, but to be able to walk into a room and talk to, Robert F. Kennedy as if he was a young political upstart who didn't know the first thing about the state of the world or politics to begin with.
Do you know what it took to change his mind? A bomb. Now, I do not want that to happen to you or your brother, sir. There's no reason we both can't get what we want.
To have that sort of political command was the most challenging thing, but I took a lot of inspiration from Clint too. He helped me out a lot with it, and he told me how I should move, how I should act, and he was the main inspiration.
We can wage a war on two fronts, sir. You understand? You can go now, Mr. Hoover. Yes, sir.
This is the first time DiCaprio has worked with legendary director Clint Eastwood.
Yes, sir.
Well, I've watched him, his career advance from young juvenile to young man and playing a lot of different kinds of roles. He desperately wanted to do this. He had a great instinct for it. And so I think anybody who wants it that bad and who's as good a performer as he is, it was to my benefit. I've been a fool to not advance that one.
Trust no one, not even our fellow agents. Half of our staff are on both sides of the payroll.
He's a man that implicitly trusts his own instincts, and it's a pretty phenomenal thing to witness every single day. He has a very tight-knit crew of people that he's been working with for years, movie veterans, so to speak, and he sees what he sees in his little monitor, and he watches what's in front of him, and he either likes it or he doesn't. He either move on or gives you direction right then and there. He doesn't have a lot of advisors, and you can tell he's a man that likes to sort of plant his feet and speak the truth, and he expects you to do the same as an actor, and so it makes you trust your own gut as well.
The president is afraid.
All the admiration in the world can't fill the spot where love goes.
We are the sinners, Edgar. We tolerated lawlessness in the land and took good to diabolical proportions. The blood is on your hands, Edgar.
It's time this generation learned the difference between villain and hero. Even great men can be corrupted.